Hello, my name is Noah Boone. Today, I'm going to be talking about 3D OER tools and workflows, and I'll be joined here in the chat by my coworker, Chris Givan. So first, just a little bit of background. Me and Chris both work at the Jefferson Patterson Park and Museum, which is a state-owned cultural heritage institution that's part of the Maryland Historical Trust. Me and Chris were both hired in April of 2021 as part of an IMLS CARES Act grant, which was awarded to the park in 2020. The goals of the project were to convert existing educational resources at the park into OER materials and create new OER materials by collaborating with the various specialists at the park. So, jumping into things, why 3D content? Well, 3D content provides engaging ways to interact with content that are not possible with, say, a picture or other means. 3D content can also allow access to objects and interaction to objects that may be behind closed doors, may be hard to get to, such as maybe a remote archaeological site, or may also be a way to visualize a feature that may be difficult to visualize without prior knowledge or experience. Younger generations are also very comfortable moving in 3D space, and these pieces of content can also be viewed anywhere on a variety of devices and support user-driven discovery. So, our general 3D workflow follows 4 basic steps. The first step, identifying need, figuring out what the subject is that would be beneficial or would benefit from having a 3D content created from it. The next step, generating a 3D model, which can be done in a variety of different methods. Thirdly, we will then try to optimize the 3D model, which saves us time when we want to implement the model later, but also makes the model more user-friendly for anyone who might want to download and use it for other purposes. And the final step, implementing the model into a platform and implementing it into a piece of educational content. I'm going to go over 3 main methods for creating 3D content. The first method, which is the most easy to jump into, is using or modifying existing models that already exist in the vast openly licensed libraries that are online. One that we've used is called Sketchfab, which is an online repository for 3D models that allows downloading, licensing, as well as interactive user interaction through the web interface with the 3D models. The second method is 3D modeling from scratch. This is definitely the hardest method and requires the most prior knowledge and training. Me and Chris both found Blender to be a comfortable program to jump into, but it definitely has a high learning curve. And there are also proprietary options as well that could be used, such as Autodesk Maya. The last method, which we used, was photogrammetry, which is a method of 3D scanning. Photogrammetry is done by taking a variety of photos at different angles of your subject, and then using software to intelligently stitch those photos together, find like points between them, and essentially extrapolate a 3D model from just the pictures alone. Here's a picture of me in the field taking photos of an archaeological site, which we then performed photogrammetry on to create a 3D model. In this photo here, I'm using a DSLR, but one of the great things about photogrammetry is that you can really use it with any kind of camera, even a phone camera will work, which makes it a very affordable technology to jump into. Here is Agisoft Metashape, which is the program that we use. It is proprietary, but they do offer many affordable educational price points. And there are free and open source alternatives, such as Mushroom, that can be used instead. Shown here in the boxes show the individual cameras from each picture, where the program has extrapolated the camera position and mapped it to where it would be in 3D space in reference to the other photos. At the end of the photogrammetry process, you'll have a 3D model like this one shown here in the top right. And once we have this, we can then implement it onto a 3D platform to use it in our content. For 3D platforms, I have 4 different examples. The first one, Sketchfab, is the one that we use the most, which is a 3D online model repository, which allows you to upload 3D models, make them downloadable, clarify the licensing for them, and also provides a lot of out-of-the-box interactivity with the model. Another option geared more towards 3D printing is the website Printables. Another common website similar to this is Thingiverse. These are both 3D printable model hosting sites where you can upload a 3D model for 3D printing. And it can also be a good way to find models to use in your own content. Another platform that we used as well is ArtSteps, which is a program that started up around the time of the COVID pandemic when it began. We like ArtSteps because it provides a very out-of-the-box interactive 3D environment where you can move around the scene, walk around, and you can import your 3D models into it and essentially create a 3D gallery with models, pictures, and even videos. And then last and most hardest is Unity, which is a 3D game engine and definitely provides you the most customization. However, it does require a fair bit of programming knowledge and is definitely the biggest commitment for a project incorporating 3D models. As an example, here is a alphabet plate, which we 3D scanned using photogrammetry and then uploaded onto Sketchfab, and then made use of their annotation tools. Using these annotations, we could add more context to the object. Now, 3D content is not without its challenges. 3D content is inadvertently inaccessible visually. While screen readers have come a long way, they're not yet at the point where they can really handle deciphering 3D content. Another issue is device distribution and internet access. Depending on the communities you're trying to serve, there could be issues with devices maybe not having the performance needed to run 3D content, as well as the need for internet access to use them. Another conflict with OER is the barriers of the free-ish nature of a lot of these web services. While Sketchfab does allow you to make your models downloadable and apply licensing to them, it does retain a lot of the features like the annotations that are not included when you download the model. It also relies on the services not changing their business plan and staying online in the foreseeable future. As far as what 3D content can offer OER, 3D content can offer an engaging way for users to engage with content, expand on the accessibility of the content, and allow users to engage with content that they may not normally be able to engage with. 3D content is also naturally remixable in its file formats as long as it is downloadable, which makes it very good for remixing. And while 3D web services may not be completely open, they offer a very good avenue to deliver open content in a fun and engaging way. So that concludes my talk. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you to the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Me and Chris will be in the chat if you have any questions, and thank you for your time.